Shalom, this is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet and Good Torah. So there was a very interesting article in Yeshiva World News today. I'm going to call it the Kohelet theory. It actually predicts that the time of peace is going to begin today on June 17th. So we'll take a look at it. It's kind of interesting. Let me bring it up here. Here we go. Okay, so here it goes. So it's in the mailbag. And I believe it's just signed by a person, HM. There's no, it's a kind of a prediction for Yemot Mashiach, the days of Mashiach, the days of Messiah. As today is June 17th, 2025. So how Megillus Koheles points to this date as the Ace Shalom, the time of peace, the final pre-Mashiach era. Okay, so we'll see what it says there. I guess the article was yesterday. Okay. So it says Judaism teaches that the world will exist for 6,000 years, followed by 1,000-year Shabbos. And I believe that Shabbos is Olam Haba. Here he says that's Yemot Mashiach. I don't think it's correct. I think the end of the 6,000 years is Yemot Mashiach. This is based on the Gemara in Sanhedrin 97a and reflected in Kabbalistic sources such as the Zohar and the writings of the Ramchal and the Vilna Gaon. As of today, the Jewish year is 5785. That's the years after creation. This means that 6,000 minus 5,785 only leaves us 215 years left. So I think that's before Olam Haba, and then we remain in the pre-Messianic era. Okay, so Koheles, chapter 3, it says the word ace, time, 28 times. So in Koheles, which is it was written by King Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech, and it's called Ecclesiastes. So King Shlomo, he wrote, L'kol zman, for every time, ve'es l'kol chayfetz tachas hashamayim. So to everything there's a season, there's a time, and a time to every purpose under heaven. So he lists 28 distinct ace times in 14 contrasting pairs. So ace la lettuce, a time to be born, ace la lamus, a time to die, ace la ta'as, a time to plant, ace la akor, a time to uproot what is planted, ace la harog, a time to kill, ace lir fo, a time to heal, ace leaf rots, a time to break down, ace leaf nos, a time to build, ace likos, a time to weep, Ace lisachok, a time to laugh. Ace lispod, a time to mourn. Ace lirkod, a time to dance. Ace lahashlik avanim, a time to cast away stones. Ace liknos avanim, a time to gather stones. Ace lachavok, a time to embrace. Ace lirchok michabek, a time to push away distance from embracing. Ace lavakesh, a time to seek. Ace liabed, a time to lose. Ace lishmor, a time to guard or a time to keep. Ace lechashlik, a time to throw away, time to cast away. Ace likroa, a time to tear. Ace lispor, a time to sow. Ace lechashos, a time to be silent. Ace ledaber, a time to speak. Ace leachov, a time to love. Ace lisno, a time to hate. Ace milchama, a time for war. And Ace Shalom, a time for peace. So this Ace Shalom, this time for peace, would, according to this, the Koheles theory, would start today. All right, so here's the calculations. So the calculations are dividing all the 6,000 years of world history into 28 times, so divided by 28. So we divide the total span of Jewish history, 6,000 years, by 28 times. 6,000 divided by 28 means that each of these times would be 214. I don't know how accurate we need to get, 0.28, let's say, or 0.29. So 214 years. So each Koheles time spans exactly 214 years, or about, and I guess 214 years and about 104.57 days. So basically about 140 days, 104, or we can say 104 and a half plus the 214 years, the days plus the years. Okay, so we're currently in the year 5785. To see which time we're in, so we take 5,785 and then we divide that by 214. This means we just finished the 27th time, and we're entering the 28th and final one. So what exactly does the 28th, when does the 28th time begin? So if we multiply 27 by 214.28, this would equal 5785.71. So the final Kohelet time begins point 714 days into the year 5785. So convert that to days. So using a long-term average of like basically 36 and a quarter days per year, we would end up, the 28th time would begin on the 261 day of the year 5785, and I guess he's calculating that's today. Okay, but isn't the Jewish calendar lunar? Great question. Yes, the Jewish calendar is primarily lunar, based on 29 and a half day months, but it is also a lunar solar calendar because it adds leap months like Adar Sheni, the second Adar, 7 times every 19 years to stay aligned with the seasons. So over long periods, the system brings the average Jewish year very close to the 365 and a quarter days. So our calculations remain accurate over a millennium. And we're not estimating here. We know the exact start of 5785. It's Rosh Hashanah 5785, which was on October the 2nd, 2024 in the evening. So add 260 days and we arrive at June 17th, 2025. Okay, hold on tight. So the final result, according to this model, the 28th and final Kohelet time, a time for peace, begins on June 17th, 2025. Buckle up. This is signed by KM. I don't know who that is. I just won. Disclaimer is, of course, I mean, the Kohelet theory, it's interesting, but there, as far as I understand it, it's not mentioning anyone in Chazal, any of the great Torah scholars throughout the ages that have mentioned the Kohelet theory, or there's no source for it, but it's interesting. So we'll take a look. So in the comments, someone actually broke down all world history roughly into these 28 times. It's kind of interesting. Let's take a look here. So the first time would be the time to be born. So here you would have the, the whole, everything's born, the creation of the world, Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve are created. So time to be born, first 214 years works pretty well. Time to die. So if this is accurate, it's interesting. So this would be the first murder. So this would be where Cain murdered Hevel. Cain kills his brother Abel. So that works fairly well. The planting, the time of planting. Here he's saying like the people began planting Avodah Zarah. Maybe we also had the first kingdom. Nimrod was the first king. So we had a planting of civilization, uprooting. So it would be the fourth time to uproot the planting. So I guess what he's saying is the planting wasn't good. They were planting Avodah Zarah, idolatry, and then here it's uprooted. So this is like before the flood, everything has to be uprooted. A time to kill. So this is when it says the earth was filled with Hamas. The earth was filled with violence. I mean, people were just killing each other and stealing from each other. So it wasn't a great time. He's saying city-state wars started. So then a time to heal. I mean, he's saying he's not citing much for this time to heal. He's saying medicine in Egypt. Okay. So a time to break down. And this is interesting. So in 1656 is the flood, the Mabul. So that works pretty well. A time to build up. So he says the Tower of Babel, which was in 1996. It's interesting too, because 1996 of our calendar was, I think, the public release of the internet. But I think the really big building up, which is going to go to the age of Torah, is Abraham Avinu, Abraham being born in 1948 after the creation of the world. Okay, so then time to cry. He's listing here the destruction of Sodom. So I guess the wickedness in the world. It was a time to cry. Time to laugh. So this works very well. So the birth of Yitzhak, his name means like he will laugh. So that was in 2048. So that works really well. A time to mourn. So this works really well too. So this is when Yaakov Jacob and 70 members of his family go down to Egypt to begin the slavery, the 210 years of slavery. So that works very well. Time to dance. This works very well. So after the miraculous Yetzias Mitzrayim, the exodus from Egypt, and we saw the parting of the Red Sea, the Kriyas Yamsuf, and then everyone was dancing and singing the song of the sea. And then we received the Torah. So all that works very well. Time to dance, time to celebrate, a time to cast away. So he has here, it's the period of Shoftim, judges, smashing the altars of idolatry. Okay. So then a time to gather. So this is pretty good. So David HaMelech, King David, he gathers all the tribes together, unites the tribes. Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, he builds the first temple. So that's pretty good. A time to embrace, time to hug. So this is saying basically peace under the early kings of Israel. A time to like push away from hugging. So this works pretty well. Like the first temple, the first base of Mikdash was destroyed in 33, 38, and the exile of Bavel, the Babylonian exile begins. So that works good. And then the Persian Empire, they had limited rule for the Jewish people. Okay, a time to seek. This works pretty well. So this is the beginning of the Greek Empire. And now we have no more Nevuah, we have no more prophecy. So now the beginning of Greek scientific exploration. And then the victory of the Maccabees, the Hashmonaim over the Greeks in what we celebrate on Hanukkah. So that works pretty good. Okay, time to lose. This works pretty well. The destruction of the second base of Mikdash, the second temple by the Romans, and then we lose Jewish rule in the land of Israel and all the Roman Jewish wars. So that works pretty well. Time to keep. This is good. Keeping the Torah Sheba'al Peh, keeping the oral Torah, because the Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, he writes down the Mishnah, so that's good. And then the Gemara starts. A time to cast away. This is interesting. So the Western Roman Empire falls in 4111, and now the really the large Jewish diaspora begins. The Jewish people start spreading out farther around the world. A time to tear. So this will be interesting. This is a time of mourning. So this is the early Islamic conquest, and they captured Jerusalem in 4392. So now it's tearing like the holiest place in Israel away from us. Interesting. A time to sow. So now stitching things back together. So it's the era of the Goanim, the great Torah scholars, and they stitch. He's saying they stitch the global Torah centers together. And then it was the golden age of Islam, where they did treat the Jewish people well through that era. We have the famous we started getting the Rishonim like Rambam, I think. Well, this is past the Goanim, so Sadia going. Okay, so let's see. So the time of silence. So this is interesting. This could be early medieval Europe, after destruction of the Roman Empire in the West, in Rome. This could be what's called the Dark Ages. So that's good. A time to speak. Okay, this is the time of the Rishonim. So we have Rashi, Rambam. Um, the universities begin. So that's good. Knowledge begins. A time of love. So the Renaissance, I wouldn't necessarily say the Renaissance, 1492, the exile in 1492, but it leads to the discovery of America, where we're going to be treated so much better than most of Jewish history. But I think the main thing here is in Sfas, in Safed, the mysticism, the Kabbalah, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, the Arizal, Rabbi Chaim Vital, we had Rabbi Yosef Karo, the Al Sheikh, all the Al Sheikh HaKodesh, all the great Torah scholars and the books of Kabbalah written in that. So that works pretty well. And this works very well. So time to hate, the 30 Years' War, the Khmelnytsky massacres in 5408 Tat V'Tat, or I forgot how to say it. So the global colonial imperial wars. Okay, this works very well. So then the time of war. So we would have the Napoleonic Wars, World War One, World War Two, the Cold War, all the wars up till now, proxy wars, terror wars, and then we're still in the war right now of Israel versus Iran, which began on October the 7th in 2023. Okay, so now, as of today, this would be the time of peace. Okay, so so what I want to say is, yeah, it's very interesting, but we have to remember too that it says, I think in Pirkei Avos that the 6,000 years can also be divided up into three parts. So you have 2,000 years of like tohu and bohu, like chaos, destruction. Like so, those are 2,000 years before the Torah is given to the Jewish people. So, right, as we said before, like Abraham is born in 1948, and I think when he's 52, he begins teaching Torah. So now the next 2,000 years is the age of Torah. Or the Torah is after the Yetziat Mitzrayim, after the Exodus from Egypt, and the Jewish people receive the Torah and Mount Sinai. The age of Torah begins. And then what's interesting, so the last 2,000 years are called the age of Mashiach. So as of the Hebrew year 4000, now keep in mind we're in 5785. So Mashiach could have come 1,785 years ago, just to give you an idea, a little bit of an idea of how these things work. And Chazal says in many places, unfortunately, because of our Averos, our Avonos, because of our sins, that's kept Mashiach from coming. So all these years have the potential that Mashiach could have come. Mashiach hasn't come yet. So in the Kohelet period, it's interesting. So starting today, we're now in the time of peace. Now, saying that, I think it's going to work a little bit like the 4,000 years. We're in a time of peace, but yet, like the three greatest wars in all the history of mankind haven't happened yet. The three wars of Gog and Magog. So the wars between Mashiach and the king that the Torah calls Gog, and the three kings. So the first war, Gog and Magog, will end like in northern Israel. The second one, I think, will end with, and these all end the defeat of Gog. Will end in the Megiddo Valley, and then that Gog will be buried there. I think around the Canaris, and then the what's it, the Sea of Galilee, and then the final war, Gog and Magog, is in around Jerusalem, and that's I think the that's where the nevuah is of the Har Hazazim, the Mount of Olives splitting, and Mashiach, or maybe both Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David coming in to fight in that war in Jerusalem. So it's great that we're entering the time of peace, but we have like maybe the greatest wars in the history of mankind, like on the horizon to get through. So I think it could be that the purpose of these wars, the wars of Gog and Magog, the wars that Mashiach will lead the Jewish people in, are to lead to that final global peace, that world peace for the really the first time in all world history, in a sense. So we're in the time of peace, but yet we have you know, we have a bumpy ride until we get to the peace that's described in all the Nevi'im and all the prophets. It's interesting. I mean, the Kohelet theory, never heard it before. I think someone just came up with it. I guess HM. He didn't want to sign his name, but it's kind of cool. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. Hope to see you back again soon on Sweet and Good Torah.